Hi, Kevin Coupe here, and this is FaceTime with the Content Guy. Well, unless you've been hiding under a rock for the last couple of weeks, you are aware that the 8th and final Harry Potter movie came out last weekend to critical acclaim and record box office. Well, you'd expect no less from the co-author of a book called The Big Picture, Essential Business Lessons from the Movies, so I've come up with 6 basic business lessons that we can learn from the Harry Potter movies. Number 1, the importance of good casting. When they cast those 3 kids, Daniel Radcliffe and Rupert Grint and Emma Watson, almost a decade ago, they were placing a pretty big bet because those three kids had to grow over 8 movies, and they had to, basically carry the entire franchise on their shoulders. And they cast it really well. Those kids were green when they started, relatively inexperienced, and they ended up becoming really interesting young actors. We enjoyed watching them grow. They also didn't get into trouble. Nobody ended up in rehab. Nobody ended up on drugs, running naked down the street. They ended up being interesting, well thought of actors that was well cast. And in any business, you've got to cast the parts carefully. You can't just get a warm body, especially because the people that you hire generally are going to be people who are going to be interacting with customers. You've got to cast those roles carefully. Harry Potter is a great example of that. Lesson number 2, there's no such thing as a small role. When you think about it, the Harry Potter movies were great for the English acting system. Almost every great English actor had a small role in Harry Potter. They got regular paychecks, regular work. It was terrific for them. But the thing is, a lot of those actors, people like Alan Rickman and Maggie Smith, well, they only might have been in any given movie for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. And, it didn't really matter they were in it for a short period of time because they knew and they acted as if they were critical to the whole enterprise. Also, a great business lesson. The people we have working for us, even the people in the smallest roles, shouldn't think they have insignificant roles. They should think that the entire enterprise depends on them. That's going to allow them to act as if they have a sense of ownership. And we have to instill that in them as we kind of manage them and lead them in our businesses. Another great business lesson. Consistency is really important in any business. That's what they had in the Harry Potter movies. I can speak to this because it so happens that a couple of weeks before the new movie came out, Mrs. Content Guy said to me, I can't go to see the new movie until I've seen all of the other movies, and I've only seen the first one. I'm going to have to watch them all. When she said, I'm going to have to watch them all, referring to herself, what she really meant is that we are going to have to watch them all. So for basically 8 days, over an 8-day period of time, we watched all 7 Harry Potter movies. And I have to tell you, they were very consistent. And one of the things I really admired was the way they created this sense of place. Also important, especially for retailers. Do your stores reflect a sense of place, a common vision? Or when people were standing in the middle of your store, would they say, well, I don't know where I am? I could be any one of a dozen stores. If a store is going to tell a story, if a store is going to have a narrative, if a store is going to be compelling, it has to have a very strong sense of place that gives you a differential advantage. New perspectives, another great business lesson. The first 2 Harry Potter movies were directed by Chris Columbus, a good journeyman, workman-like director. And he sort of set the stage with good casting, and he sort of set the tone for the movies. But it wasn't until the 3rd movie, which was directed by Alfonso Cuarón, that the series really became alive, because he was a visual stylist who gave the movies an entirely different look at a time when movies were going to be deepening, the plots were going to get darker, the performances were going to have to be stronger, and he did something really unique with it and set the stage for Mike Newell, who directed the next movie, and David Yates, who directed the final movies. Okay, but they wouldn't have happened if they hadn't brought in a third party to sort of re-energize the series, and that was a very smart thing to do. Also in a great business lesson, sometimes you need somebody to come in, take a look around, see what the opportunities are, see what the possibilities are, and they can lead us in new directions. The interesting thing is the Alfonso Cuarón movie, which is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, that was the least successful of all the movies financially. It made less money than any other movie, even though it was a critical success, and most people say it's the best movie of the series. that's an important thing for us to remember in our own businesses. Sometimes you can't measure success just by the bottom line. There may be other things that a film, that a project brings to us, that a business decision brings to us, that may not be reflected in the bottom line, that may help us in the long term. Although you got to keep it in context. When I say it was the least successful movie of the Harry Potter films, that means it brought in only $800 million globally. So, I should have these kinds of lack of successes in my life. And finally, a great business lesson. Every business needs a little magic, They had all the parts right in the Harry Potter movies, right? They had good actors, good directors, good screenplays, great source material. All the pieces were right. But what allowed them to be transcendent and really become a phenomenon is a little, creative alchemy, if you will. We all need a little magic in our business. It's the thing that little spark that, for whatever reason, makes us a little bit different. And sometimes you can't plan on that. It's very rare that you can plan on it. In fact, sometimes you just got to hope that all the pieces are in place and that you've done everything right, and there'll be something. There'll be that spark of magic that will make you be different. Anyway, those are lessons that I took from the Harry Potter movies. That's what's on my mind this Thursday. As always, I want to hear what's on your mind.